How many of you have a polarizing filter that you use for your camera? It's pretty universal. What I want to talk about today just a little bit is what is polarized light, linearly and circularly? How do we make a polarizing filter? How do we use it? And in the very end, I'll address why we use circular polarizing filters for our current cameras. Light travels in a wave. The wavelength is kind of small. It's on the verge of 900 nanometers. And normally, it travels in a wave in a plane, and you watch the rest of that beam of light. It's going to be in all planes. So it's going to have energy in many different directions with that traverse wave running down the street. What a polarizer does is it takes all the energy in one plane and puts it there, all the energy in another orthogonal plane or perpendicular to it in another one. The analogy that I like to use is a picket fence and a jump rope. We take a jump rope and you give it a little whip, we're going to send a wave down it. If you're going to go this way, you're going to send a wave down it. Now, if a picket fence is working this way and you send the wave down it in the same direction, it's going to go right through. But if you try doing it perpendicular to it, none of the energy will go through. It all be stopped and absorbed by the picket fence. Now, here's the magic. If you send it through at, let's say, 45 degrees, some of the energy will go through and some will be stopped. So with that thought process, we can take energy that's in all these different planes and put them into half of that energy into one. The other half will either be in another one or to be lost entirely. Why is the sky blue? Well, when light comes through the upper atmosphere, this isn't happening close to ground, it's way up high. It's scattered on extremely small particles. These particles could be as small as a single oxygen molecule. Two atoms to make a molecule, thank you. But when you're at 100,000 feet, it doesn't matter, there's monatomic oxygen. So these particles are smaller than the wavelength of light, therefore they interact with the light and cause scattering. Now going back to your textbook, you'll find that there's a very strong relationship between frequency of the light, or the color of the light, and the amount of scattering. And this relationship is to the fourth power. So if you took a wavelength of light, you'd multiply it once, two, three, four times itself. And so it doesn't take much of a difference in frequency or wavelength, color, to make a separation. Blue light scatters more than the other colors. Therefore, the sky is blue. The sunlight, or the sun, comes through orangish because it's minus blue. It started off as white. In addition to scattering, an additional part of the scattering is that the light comes through partially polarized. So now you selectively got blue light that makes your sky blue, and that light is polarized. Direction, you're looking at the sky with respect to the sun. There's people that got formulas for this, but my suggestion to you is experiment. If you're not getting the effect you want, wait till another time of the day. Find a different scene. Or like other trees. So when light when light reflects off of non-metallic surfaces. For you scientists, dielectric surfaces. Non-metallic surfaces such as glass, paint, water, and you're at this critical angle, you'll create plain polarized light, or light that falls in one of these single planes. And once you've got it in the plane polarized light, you can use your polarizing filter to take it out of the picture. Now, what is this angle? Well, again, back to Physics 101, there's an angle called a Brewster angle, and it's dependent upon the index of refraction of the glass, of the medium. And when you're at the Brewster's angle, 100% of the light in one polar plane is reflected, and 100% of the light in the other plane is passed through the glass. You notice there's a spot on the trunk, which is paint, which is non-metal. And then there's some chrome. Chrome is metal. You notice that when I put the polarizing filter in there, we suppress most of the reflection off the paint, but off the chrome, it laughs at us. So as a rule of thumb, you want to suppress reflections off metal, do something else. If you want to suppress them off of non-metallic surfaces in very limited application, you can do it. Polarizing filter helped. But that Brewster angle, that critical angle, it's all over the place because the water is around. You can easily buy polarizing material in plastic sheet form. The polarizing filter that you buy at the photo store probably has a sheet of plastic in the center with a protective glass on either side. So there's 3 pieces of material making up the filter. Somebody had asked the question, I heard somebody say that they leave their polarizing filter on all the time, which makes absolutely no sense. One way of polarizing light's using a filter, and you notice how we can now let's try a little. This is a circular polarizer. That's magic, isn't it? Now what happens if I turn it over? Well, that's not very impressive. If I took the regular polarizer works just fine. Now turn it over, works just fine. If I take the bottom one, put it on top, works just fine. So there's something special there's something special about the circular polarizer. What it is, it's made out of two items. A linear polarizer, just like have used for years, and then another surface that causes it to become not linearly polarized or in a single plane, but like a corkscrew, circular. So for your circular polarizer to work, you first have to have the polarizer, then you have to have the retarding plate. And then everything's got to be lined up right. So for your filter, for your camera, you have a piece of glass, you have a piece of plastic, you have another piece of plastic, another piece of glass, and the ring that holds it in place. What the cost is at 1 to 2 f-stops and some optical quality. What's the benefit? Great skies. You're stopping reflection. If the leaves get greener, you're stopping reflection. My recommendation, and do what I do, just experiment. If you've got a scene you're shooting, you think it'll help, put the filter on, try it. Doesn't help, take it off and take a picture. And it's the same thing you do when you get polarized sunglasses. They've aligned the filters in your sunglasses to match the plane that you'd expect the water, light reflecting off the water. And if you're at the right height, so you get that critical angle, it could be a startling effect.